Good morning, everybody. My name's Claire McKee and I'm from UKTIN, and UKTIN represent the whole of the UK telecom sector. The purpose of the event today is to explore what a career in telecoms looks and feels like, and exactly how apprenticeships into the sector work. I'll be asking the apprentices to share their own experiences and asking the employers some key questions. We have a number of schools and colleges who are broadcasting live into their classrooms, so that's brilliant to see, as well as individual students, parents, and also some job seekers. And we've got an audience from all over the country. My colleague Laura will be asking your questions later. The chat is muted for now so that we can focus on the speakers. Cameras may be on or off. And as there are so many people on the call, please do not raise your hand as we'll just run out of time. We will be sharing all of the links you need at the end of the event, and these will include career paths, employers' live roles, as well as future opportunities. I'll introduce our speakers in brief, but they'll introduce themselves more fully as we go through the event. So today we have with us from the employers, we have Andrew Murchison from Vodafone, Karen Hadley from Virgin Media O2, Sophie Wilmot from BT Group, and with them their apprentices, Ben Yates from Vodafone, Ben Shoesmith from Virgin Media O2, and Cheryl Taylor from BT Group. So if you want to take that slide down, please, Kevin. Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to start off with some questions to the apprentices. And I'm going to ask you each in turn. So for the apprentices, can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us about your apprenticeship, what you do, where you work, and what you enjoy most about your role? So I'll start first with you, Ben, from Vodafone.
Hello everyone, my name is Ben Yates. So I joined Vodafone in September 2021 on the data analytics degree apprenticeship pathway. So a lot of my role was in network operations, so doing a lot of data analytics, looking where we can optimize things, and also a lot of automation. So my degree lasted 3 years, so alongside working at Vodafone, and I finished that in September 2024. So recently left the apprenticeship scheme now onto a full-time role.
Okay, brilliant. Over to the other Ben at Virgin Media O2, Ben Shoesmith.
Oh yeah, good morning everyone, hope you're all good. I'm Ben Shoesmith and I'm a channel marketing executive at VMO2. I started at VMO2 in 2021 as a network design apprentice on a level 4 apprenticeship, project management apprenticeship to be specific, and completed this in February 2023. After finishing my apprenticeship last year, I rolled off into a permanent role, and I then changed role into the role of a channel marketing executive in February last year. In this role, I get to work on B2B marketing, strategy, campaigns, and events.
Excellent, thank you. And same question to you, Cheryl.
I think you've got the wrong Cheryl highlighted there at the moment. It's Cheryl Taylor, and there seems to be a
Cheryl Taylor. What are the odds, say? Is Cheryl, unmute yourself, please. Cheryl Taylor.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, Kevin's sorting out the spotlight. We can still hear you, so that's great.
Cool, no worries. So hi everyone, my name is Cheryl. I am a software engineering degree apprentice. I just finished in September. I took the digital and technology and solutions pathway, and my day-to-day is a lot of back-end connections, working with the company to just, protect the future, secure everyone. And yeah, I started in 2020, and like I said, I finished in September. And yeah, that's a bit about what I do.
Brilliant. Okay. This question's to Ben Yates from Vodafone. Why did you choose an apprenticeship instead of a traditional university path?
Yeah, sure. So I got pretty good A levels. I got into a lot of universities, got accepted there. But really, I just wanted to do something different. So I think a lot of the crowd, a lot of people applying at sixth form automatically, in a way, go through the application process to university. And I thought at some point I'm gonna have to differentiate what I do and myself future in life. So I thought apply for a degree apprenticeship now. I still get the degree,
Yeah.
but equally I still get to work, earn money, and have that sort of life, and it sort of sets me a bit quicker in the future into getting a role. So I thought rather than having to go to university and then try and get a job in the future and go through that whole process, I would do something a bit different, experience something outside of the textbook, the real world. How does this learning work, day to day? How do people actually interact with the stuff you learn? And sort of get a bit of a head start in the career, to be honest.
Excellent. Brilliant. We go over to Ben Shoesmith from Virgin Media O2. I know, Ben, that you did your A levels. I'm just thinking, how has your apprenticeship helped you grow both professionally and personally?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be in the same position today on a personal and a professional level without doing my apprenticeship at VMO2. So I think ultimately it helped me to kickstart my career and gave me an opportunity to work in an industry which I had no experience in previously. And it's helped me to learn and develop both at work and on a personal level. So I think at VMO2, apprentices are really lucky to get presented with unique opportunities which are only available to them. When I look back at some of the opportunities I said yes to and put myself out for, they're now career highlights. So opportunities such as hosting inductions for new apprentices, featuring in newspapers, and even talking to the former Prime Minister as well. It also helped me to build a network I didn't have previous to the apprenticeship, and I don't think I would have the same network today if I didn't join on the apprenticeship. I think building this network and along with the opportunities I just mentioned has helped me to grow in confidence hugely. And when I think about where I was at school and college, that person which would avoid putting his hand up in class, to now in a position where I've spoken to rooms full of 200 plus people, that's something I'm really proud of. And also,
wow, that's quite a journey, isn't it? So all
yeah,
that
100,
support and that journey has really helped you get to where you are now. Yeah,
100%.
brilliant.
Like, if you asked me to do to speak to 200 people plus 5 years ago, God, it would have scared the living daylights out of me completely. But yeah, also that network I built has helped me hugely post apprenticeship. So as I said, I moved from a more project management role into a marketing role with no experience, and this was all through a connection I made with another apprentice, and now she's my manager. So it just goes to show that the benefits of the apprenticeship can last longer than the scheme itself and really set you up for a good career.
And I think it also indicates the flexibility, which is great to see with the employers, so that, okay, you might start off with the apprenticeship in one route, but actually it's not so rigid because there's lots of opportunities. By networking with your colleagues, you can get some insight into what it's like into other areas of the business. Yeah, that's good to see. What is the question for Cheryl? How did you find out about your apprenticeship? And would you have any tips for students or candidates considering the apprenticeship route?
So for me personally, I found out through just my own research online. And not only that, but when I was in school, we had a few assemblies about different career paths we could take. We had different people come in and speak to us about these opportunities. And I think just also making connections on LinkedIn and looking at the career that I wanted to go into and the industries that I wanted to work in, just connecting with those people, speaking to them, is what actually landed me where I am today. So I think if I was to give any tips or any advice, it would be to make connections, go on LinkedIn, put yourself out there and speak to people who are in the field that you want to get into, because you never know where these conversations might take you. You never know, it might give you that boost of confidence to apply for a role you never thought you could ever go for. So yeah, I definitely say that's my biggest tips.
Yeah, I know that's some good tips. And I think making those connections, no matter where you are in your career, it goes an awful long way, because you can really get the insight as to how things might work for you. And as you say, it gives you that confidence to, take that leap forward. And to Ben Yates from Vodafone, how did you find out about your role? What how did you go about approaching it?
Yeah, so I think I found out about mine through school, like newsletters.
Yeah.
But I mean, I applied to quite a lot. I think like was just mentioned there, a lot of like LinkedIn. There's a lot of government. There's a government website and lots of different websites where you can find these opportunities. But I think that the advice there was right. Just put yourself out there, look for as many opportunities as possible. Combine some companies with early careers when you search for things, and a lot come up. But just keep your options open, really.
Yeah, brilliant. And how about you, Ben, from Virgin Media O2?
Yeah, I found mine through, well, really, my college helped me at the time because it was when everybody else was applying for university, and I knew like university wasn't for me. So they kind
Yeah.
of picked me up when everyone else was doing personal statements, and then they helped me look in different places. So ultimately, I found mine through the government website, and that was really helpful on there.
Excellent. And this is open to the three apprentices rather. What would you say to students who feel that an apprenticeship might not be as prestigious as a typical university degree?
I think I'm happy to go in first if you want. I
Yeah.
think there definitely is a view that apprenticeships are like less academic compared to uni, and perhaps the assumption is like apprenticeships are the easy alternative to university, but both of these are like far from the truth. I mean, there's different levels to apprenticeships, so obviously there's like GCSE equivalent up to higher degree equivalent, so you can in fact gain the same thing out of apprenticeships what you can from university. Like just personally, I was in a position where I had A levels of AAB and I had the potential to go to university, but didn't want to. My apprenticeship was equivalent to a foundation degree, and I also earned a PMQ, which is a project management qualification. And it's not about bad mouthing uni as an option at all, because obviously it's what's right for everybody. But like I look at myself now, so I'm 21. A lot of my friends from school have graduated last year, and I'm in a position with 4 years experience working. I've been able to earn a salary for 4 years and don't really feel like I'm behind any of the graduates at all.
Yeah, no, that's great. That makes perfect sense. Anybody else want to chip in on that?
I'd agree with what was just mentioned at the end there. So my friends have also finished university now, completed with their degrees, and I had a conversation with them today, and they're saying that they kind of wish they did a degree apprenticeship, just for the position that it puts them in now, where they're struggling to get jobs in the careers they want because everyone is fighting for them now. They've all got a degree, so by sort of putting yourself in there early, you get all that experience, networking. You're like one step ahead. So yeah, my friends are in a situation now where they have finished a degree, and like I'm sure university has been a great experience for them, but now they're in a position where they kind of wish they had done the route that I'd done.
Yeah, reflecting back.
Yeah.
And how about yourself, Cheryl?
Yeah, so when I started my apprenticeship, I think that was one of the biggest things for me. I did want the uni experience, like I did want to graduate. I did want to, wear the hat at the end of it and have the whole ceremony. But I just thought if I went down the apprenticeship route, I wouldn't be able to do that. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions. So for me, I did a degree apprenticeship. And through that, I was able to have the ceremony, like everything was exactly the same. So I felt fulfilled in that sense. Like I felt like I didn't miss out on anything in that sense. But yeah, I agree with what both of them said. When it comes to experience, for me, my apprenticeship was 4 years long, so I'm 4 years ahead of a lot of people who have graduated at the same time as me. And yeah, it just puts yourself in a better position because you feel like you can now, help others. You can, speak to people who didn't necessarily have the same chances as you as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with what they're both saying there.
Yeah, brilliant. And of course, what everybody wants to know is what's the social life like where you work? Ben Shoesmith, I think we touched on this the other day.
Yeah, we did. So I feel like one of the big things about uni, which I was drawn to, was the social side. And I think there's such a misconception that you're going to miss out socially. But if anything, it might be better because maybe your dinners and your drinks are paid for, and it's very social with other apprentices that join at the same time. So I was part of like a big cohort, and there definitely is a social side. It's just different to that uni typical one. So
yeah, anybody else want to chip in on that?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah, Cheryl?
I'd say so for me personally, that was a big thing for me as well. Like I really wanted the balance between social life and uni and work. But I would say there's a lot of opportunities to go out there. There's a lot of events, there's a lot of networks you
Mm.
can join, and being part of these networks, there's, either monthly events or there's, weekly events, and there's a lot of people to connect with. So I feel like I never missed out in that aspect. And also just having the time to meet new people, like different apprentices from like different cities, and seeing that you have similar things in common, like speaking about, what you do outside of work as well. So I feel like in that sense, social life wasn't compromised. Like I still had that. I still have that till this day. And a lot of my closest friends are in the workplace now. So I would say, yeah, definitely didn't miss out when it comes to social life.
Yeah, no, that's good, because I think that's a bit of a misconception sometimes, isn't it? So it's
Definitely.
nice that you just make new friends and you've got things going on at work as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, and if there was one piece of advice that you could give to anybody thinking about applying for an apprenticeship, what might that be to the apprentices?
Oh, I'll take this one.
Yeah.
I would just say make yourself stand out. There's probably like thousands of people who apply for apprenticeships, and then even the role that you're going for as well. You could have the best grades, you could tick all the boxes if we say that, but you need something to make yourself stand out against everyone else that's applying. So take advantage of the opportunity you get, like through work experience. I know some sixth forms do like the EPQ, anything to make yourself stand out with topics to discuss or experiences you've had. That would probably be my key piece of advice.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think also, I know you all touched on LinkedIn earlier as well, didn't you? Because I think, it's kind of seen as, oh, that's for older people or whatever. But actually, networking professionally, that is a good place to go to find the key people. And it's really, start to get an understanding of what matters to their business, follow their posts and so on. It's a really good way to build up your insight. So yeah, so thank you for those tips. We'll head over to the employers now, where I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. We'll start off. This question is for Sophie at BT. Can you introduce yourself and tell us about your organisation and the apprenticeship programmes that you offer?
Great. So I'm Sophie Wilmot. I'm the Future Careers program manager. So my remit is everything from attraction, recruitment, all the way through to running inductions and looking after people on programs. BT is very broad. I'm hoping everyone's heard we are literally sort of the backbone of BT, and we have been since the 1800s. There's not many companies that kind of can translate to trace their heritage right back to the history books. So it's lovely to be part of something with such a long legacy. And we do kind of everything, it feels like. So I will take everything from a level 2 customer service in a call center all the way up to the likes of Cheryl in terms of software engineering and a whole host of things in between, such as kind of commercial management, chartered management, cyber software, and lots of kind of digital and tech space as well, sales. So yeah, a little bit of everything that we do here at VT.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I think it's good to get that across, because sometimes people might have a narrow view of what's going on in the sector, but actually the business requires an assortment of support roles right through from the technical through to sales, really, don't they? And everything in between. So, it's nice to know that there's something out there, and, can be taken as an apprenticeship in all sorts of different types of roles within the company.
Yeah, and some of our most popular ones are rotational ones. So the people that will come to us on our chartered management degree apprenticeship, and that's an award-winning program that we run. If you're sitting there, you're going, I'm not too sure what I want to do within a business, that scheme is there to help you understand what a business does. You will rotate around different areas and you'll really get to grips and kind of understand what it means to build that commercial acumen. So if you want to do a little bit of finance, you want to do a little bit of marketing, you want to do a little bit of transformation, that is a scheme, because we understand at this point in their lives, it can be very overwhelming trying to understand what does a workplace do and where do I fit in within that large world.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good that you've got that flexibility. Over to you, Karen, from Virgin Media O2. Can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us why your company invests in apprenticeships and what value they bring to your business?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all enjoying the course so far. So I head up our future careers, otherwise known as early careers, sometimes when you'll see different companies. And I lead a small but mighty team in ensuring we basically hire and develop awesome talent like yourselves to support our organisation. Virgin Media O2 was launched in 2021, so it was combining Virgin Media and O2 together, and it combined the UK's largest and most reliable mobile and broadband network in the UK. We are a major investor in the UK, employing 16,000 people, and we invest £2 billion in our network and tech, and that could be things from rolling out our 5G network to digitalising our network. So for us, apprenticeships and all our programmes, including graduates and internships, are a fantastic opportunity to ensure that we have the skills in place to future-proof our organisation. And we believe that yourselves on this call are those people that can help us do that. For us, we've been bringing apprentices since 2008, so it's a long-standing programme that we run. We've got over 100 opportunities this year, and the reason we basically keep providing momentum in this space is because of that value. So year on year, our apprenticeships are one of our highest engaged group of people in our organisation. So they're bringing in loads of engagement, loads of fresh ideas. It's a really great opportunity to make our organisation more inclusive, because we're widening our talent pools around looking at people that are school leavers as well as more experienced people. And you're able to learn those in-demand skills. So from some of the apprentices you've heard on the call, the fact that whether you're doing a foundation degree, a degree apprenticeship, an apprenticeship equivalent, say to GCSE level, they're all very specific, tailor-made schemes that are built around what we need in the organisation. And I think one thing to remember, although we've talked about these different levels, is there is an apprenticeship to suit everybody. So when you are looking for apprenticeships, don't get too hung up about the levels unless you really specifically want, a degree apprenticeship, but look at what the skills are that you might want to learn that you think will interest you most, because employers these days are becoming increasingly more interested in the skills that you're bringing than the qualification on a piece of paper. So just wants to share that with you when you're looking for things. So think about what excites you. Do you like gaming, for example? Do you like problem solving, those kind of areas? And it might start opening your views around the skills that we're looking for that's going to add value to our organisation.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And that's a really great way to look at it, to kind of people to think about what they're good at, what they're interested in, and then try to look at it from there, really, to see how that might work for them. And is there an age limit regarding apprentices?
So apprenticeships, the minimum age from a government perspective is 16, and there's no upper age limit. So for us, we have apprentices that are up to 53 years old on our programme at present. So we tend to find that a lot will want to join us after school or after A-levels. We also have people who have done degrees who then decide to do an apprenticeship afterwards. Maybe they want to specialise more. So we've had some people that have been on the same programme, some with degrees, some with GCSEs, who have performed equally as well. But we're also finding from an external market perspective that people that perhaps that are not in your position on the call today, who maybe made a choice in their career and then realised later on, actually they want to change career, the apprenticeship is a brilliant opportunity because it's a funded development programme that the employer takes the cost on rather than the individual. People are now looking to retrain because apprenticeship salaries really vary. Virgin Media O2, our starting salaries can be anything from £22,500 up to £30,000 starting salary, which is, in our view, a brilliant salary, whether you're starting out straight from school or whether you want to perhaps reskill at a later point in life. So whatever decision you make now, there's always that option to do apprenticeships later on as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And over to you, Andrew, if you can introduce yourself and tell us what kind of support you give to your apprentices, and how do apprenticeship roles compare to graduates in terms of career progression and earning potential?
Of course, good morning. So my name's Andrew Murchison and I work in Vodafone Network Operations. So I'm a Network Operations Manager in that domain. So what's network operations? We try and keep the network up and running as much as possible. And I also work with youth across technology, bridging the gap, and that's graduates and apprentices, ensuring that we meet all of our requirements and recruit as per business demand. So when an apprentice comes into Vodafone, it is very well structured. So they start with an induction week, all together as a cohort. And this is before they start meeting with their teams. So there's a strong community environment within the apprenticeship standard. So they have social committees, their set tasks such as charity days, planning events at one of the main campuses locations that they are based out of. There's a wide pool of support on offer to them. So when they start, you get issued a buddy, which is basically an apprentice from a previous year's assignment to them, one-on-one basis to help informal talks, share experience that they've picked up from their first year in the business. They'll also be allocated a mentor. So that's someone that's been in the business a bit longer and can offer support in a range of areas. So often sharing personal experiences with challenges or contacts from their phone book in case you need to talk to somebody, but you're not sure where to go. They, of course, will have their line manager. So this is the person that helps support them on their journey, creating their goals to achieve, setting tasks, and supporting them on a daily basis. We also have a role affectionately known as a BPOC. So that's a business point of contact. So this is someone that sits across functions and can support with anything and everything. So they work with the learning providers, the managers, any study challenges, work chats, often a more of an informal platform that you can talk to comfortably if you're not sure if you want to talk to your manager about such things. HR department also runs some check-ins, so monthly check-ins to ensure everything, whether it's your academic work or your career progression, is going as planned. So it's all a very well-versed and structured environment for the apprentices to give and nurture and support that they need at the early stages of their career. And all career progression for youth in Vodafone is exceptionally well structured. So it's ensuring there's equal and fair opportunity for all, and that's across all of our youth opportunities.
Yeah, no, that sounds brilliant. I think I'm looking to join Vodafone as an apprentice. I mean, it's just all there. I think it's the same for all the networks. The brilliant support from buddies to help you alongside the structured support, and of course the academic learning as well. So no, that's really good. And as an example, can you give me an idea, Andrew, of what apprenticeship salaries might look like? Because I know that people on the event will be interested to know that. So what's the kind of range as a rule?
Really dependent. So we offer so many different apprenticeships at the minute. So we've got a cellular network field engineer, which is a brand new telecoms first industry-wide apprenticeship standard, which is a level 4. We have software engineering, network engineering, project management, data analytics, cybersecurity at level 4 and 6, and field engineers at level 3. So from level 3 to 6, they really do differ. But you're certainly looking at your mid to upper 20,000s for any of them.
Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. And I think we're going to hand over to Laura now, who's got some questions from the audience. So Kevin, if you could spotlight Laura as well, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
So I have the fancy job of answering the questions on behalf of the audience. So I'm just going to run through a couple. So we had one in from Brooks Sixth Form Academy in Dagenham. They specialise in STEM. And the question is, how can teachers and parents best support students considering an apprenticeship? So I'm going to put that one open to all.
I don't mind jumping in there in terms of best support that parents and teachers can do. I think is offering a safe place to have a conversation. I think especially as a parent myself to teenage boys, it can be really, really hard for them to feel that they are being judged or they are being kind of, I know culturally it can be quite hard as well if parents have got quite a fixed idea about where they see your future going. It can be really hard as a young person to kind of go, hang on a minute, I'd like to do that. So I think the best thing that a parent and a teacher can do can offer that safe place, and maybe point them in direction to go, have you considered this? Have you done that? And offer a kind of really non-judgmental. I think if there is a young person that maybe is struggling with that kind of maybe stigma, or thinking that, I've got this idea, I really like to understand who you're going to be your supporters. Maybe you've got aunties and uncles you can talk to. Maybe there's other friends at school that you can kind of help and do that. So that would be my kind of folio. I think as I can see it on both sides, I can see it as a mum, but I can also see it as a champion of, I really believe in the apprenticeship schemes that we offer and the industry offers. I personally get really, really wound up. I've been in here for 10 years doing kind of apprentices, and I get really annoyed when people sort of say, they're for people that aren't clever enough to go to uni. And I go, actually, it takes more determination and more effort to do the likes of a degree apprenticeship, because you're essentially doing full-time study and a full-time job. So you need to be the right type of person to go on that. You need to be self-motivated. You need to be resilient. And that is why there is a long-term payoff. At BT, we are very fortunate. We have an incredible female CEO who started as an apprentice herself. I've got a phenomenal HR director who started on a BT apprenticeship scheme. You can have a lifelong career. You are not going to be limited by any type of glass ceiling. The only thing that you're going to be limited of is your own self-belief. So yeah, that would be my kind of top tips and best advice is, have a little bit of belief in yourself, and, find those right supporters who can help you champion that cause.
Several schools and colleges have asked about qualifications, and some of you have mentioned it already, but just for clarity, do applicants need specific qualifications to apply, or is potential and attitude more important? Perhaps I'll go to Andrew on this one, or Karen, one of the two of you guys.
No, I'm happy to take that one, most certainly. So again, it is dependent to what scheme you're going for. So if I take my level 4 cellular network field engineer, you need absolutely 0 qualifications. You need to be 18 years old, because that's the minimum requirement we require for our apprenticeship standards, and you need a driving license. It's because you'll be going around to sell sites, and you need to get there to and from. So there's this. If you go for a level 4 apprenticeship, you may need some formal qualifications. If it's a level 6, generally you will need specifics. So an IT based or a mathematic ones. All of this information, this will be for Vodafone, for VMO2, for BT. If you would go to our career paths and Google's your friend, or whichever search engine you want to use, put in the relevant company, and it will tell you any prerequisites in there. So I think there's been some QR codes, but certainly if you go on to each one of these companies that are here today, go on their careers, you will be able to see all of the ones that they're offering, they're currently open, and what you need to be able to get into that one. So I know I haven't necessarily answered it directly, but it's because there is many different aspects to this. And happy to open up if any of the others want to jump in.
Okay, great. We have a question in from Fernhouse School in Enfield. And I don't know if this is for you guys or possibly for Claire, but the question is, where can I find routes into the telecommunications sector?
I think Andrew's just answered that one. Thank you, Andrew. So obviously the networks themselves, everybody on the call here today. We've also, and we'll give you these links at the end, we've created a link tree that's got all of the relevant links. There's also places like the Institute of Telecoms Professionals that have done a kind of a job family and related qualifications. And we've also got information on UKTIN, but kind of, soak up what you can really. So there's guides, but then actually when you go to the employers themselves, it might be more flexible. So, don't, just kind of take each and then, follow the path to what you want to do really.
Okay, now there's a question here which is kind of actually works nicely for the apprentice and the employer, because the question is, what are the opportunities to progress within your company after completing the programme? And personally, sitting here, it was really interesting to listen to Ben Shoesmith, who was saying about actually he started in one area and went somewhere else. So if I focus that to you, Ben, in your company, what are the opportunities?
Yeah, well, there's definitely no limits as to where you can stay. So as soon as you've rolled off your program, you finish in a permanent role. So from that point onwards, literally the world is your oyster, or any job in the company is available for you to apply for. There's no limit. Obviously you can build upon the network that you have and your strengths and what you've enjoyed and stuff. But there's no restrictions at all as to where you can go.
Okay. Okay, the question here, how do you support apprentices in balancing their work and study commitments? Now, earlier, Sophie, you talked about it being kind of like a full-time job and a full-time bit of learning. So question to you then, Karen, how do you support your apprentices in balancing their work and study commitments?
So for us, it's a pretty flexible approach at Virgin Media O2. So for some of our schemes, so take our field engineering, where they're front-facing customer visiting roles, where people who are installing our TV services, for example, in people's houses, they have very strict kind of routed jobs. So there's dedicated days given throughout their entire apprenticeship that are allowed to then do that study days. Whereas in other roles, it might be that the line manager and that individual basically work between them to determine what days they will have their time off to study. So it really is flexible. In some cases, it also depends on the apprenticeship training provider we work with. So there might be residentials involved with some of our apprenticeships. For others, it might be online learning. So our approach is that everyone learns differently, and therefore we like to apply that also in the workplace in terms of how people combine that academic learning and apply it into the workplace. For us, as long as that those skills are being built and everything is running, to time in terms of the length of the apprenticeships, which tend to vary for us between about 14 months and can go up to 48 months, whether it's a certain level of apprenticeship or how technical it is versus a degree apprenticeship tends to be a little bit longer. Then that is built through. So the advice there is that however you like to learn, typically employers will provide that flex, because ultimately we want to get the best out of you, see that you add value for our organisation as well as yourself.
Sure. One to the apprentices, really. Is there anything you'd wish you had known before you started your apprenticeship? If anyone wants to pick that up in particular.
Yeah, I'll go for this one.
Sure.
I think one thing that I wish I knew that would be that it's okay to not know everything. I think you go into these spaces thinking you need to know everything. You need to have all the technical knowledge. So for me, for example, I started with no technical knowledge at all. And that was a big fear that I'd be left behind. So one thing I will say that I wish I knew before is that you can go into these spaces not knowing too much, but there are people there to support you and there are people there to help you grow in your career.
That's great. How about the Bens? Just John made you one there. Anything you'd add to Cheryl's point?
Yeah, I agree. Like, there's no technical knowledge needed. You pick it up, but then further on that point as well, with an apprenticeship, you are doing the role and also learning. So you don't come into it thinking, oh, I'm only going to be watching over people's shoulder, in terms of what they do. And it's not all just, oh, I've got to figure things out for myself. There's a nice balance of that, which is what I particularly liked, trying to not go for the textbook approach of things. I still get to learn things. I still get to experience what other people do, but I still deliver things for myself. So yeah, and then finding the mix as well. So for example, you mentioned what was the split between university and work. So for me personally, it was 4 days of work, 1 day of university. So you got that balance there. And that was probably a question I always had, is how does it actually work? Was it a day? Was it a week a month or a day a week? So in my case, that was how that worked.
Sure. Okay, and then a kind of open question, really. So what advice would you give to students unsure whether apprenticeship is right for them? Anybody want to take that one? Are we going to pick someone?
If I jump in the first,
Yep.
I would say to definitely do your research and make sure you're going into the right industry, right employer, and do your research about the apprenticeship path itself. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. It can be overwhelming applying, I found, off the back of A-levels at 18. So definitely do your research and find the right suit for you.
Anyone got any builds?
I would just add around looking on employer websites. So speaking on behalf of Virgin Media O2, we have a Match Me tool, and it asks simple questions around, for example, do you like working outside? Do you like working in an office environment? A few simple questions, and actually going on that, and there's other employers that will also offer something similar, is that by answering that, if you do that on our Virgin Media O2 site, then you can actually see it'll pop up and it'll say types of apprenticeships that you might like most. So it's quite a good way to have a look, and it might pop up something that you've never even thought about considering. And sometimes those kind of tools can help you, because it can be a little bit overwhelming, to Ben's point around the research and that, and also what job titles mean. When you're at school, you might not know what field engineering means, or network engineering, or what channel marketing means. Like, what does that really mean? What will I be doing? Where actually, if you answer some questions around thinking about what do you like learning and doing at school, and thinking, I like maths, or I like problem solving, or I like coding, or whatever it might be, and think about those kind of things, and think about there will be a role that links really perfectly into what you enjoy doing at school, and it's just trying to navigate through that to hone in around what could those roles be that link really nicely to what you enjoy doing as a hobby or at school.
Okay, I've had a question in from a Jeremiah. Am I going to need a qualification for a civil engineering apprenticeship?
Depending on the level that they're looking to go in for, but yes, highly likely. Even an advanced level, you're going to need a minimum of 5 GCSEs, usually with a 6 or a 7 at maths particularly. And if you're going for degree level, you're going to need those A levels. Usually they would want to see at least one STEM subject in those A level choices. But I would recommend that you look for those specific civil engineering levels that you're looking for, whether it's advanced or if it's degree level.
Sure. And there's a question here which says from a student, in your opinion, how can you stand out for other applicants? Now, I currently have a daughter who's doing her UCAS and looking at apprenticeships route. What advice do you give? How do you stand out? What would you guys say? Anyone in particular want to take that?
I don't mind starting. One of my biggest bits of advice for everyone, especially if they're, doing UCAS or starting to go through job applications, is sit there and do some research on you. You're not just your school, you're not just your college, you're not just those things. What are you doing outside? To draw Cheryl into this, I know that she has a lot of active hobbies. She actually was on Young MasterChef. She loves to cook. She's been able to turn that into something that makes her stand out. So what are your unique selling points? Because actually, how does that translate into the workplace? You might be going for a field engineering role, but actually that doesn't mean we don't want you to be a creative thinker. We want you to be able to come up, you're still going to be customer facing. What are you doing? Are you working in the Boy Scouts? Have you done a charity job? All of that stuff that you do naturally without even realizing, that's going to be something really useful for the likes of me as an interviewer when I kind of really want to assess, how does this person learn? Can they recognize that they learn not just from traditional classroom-based learning, that actually those experiences that they're having set them up for future experiences too?
That's great. I'm just going to try and wrap this down before Claire shouts at me and with the time frame. But obviously, Ben Yates, you talked about the kind of the level of qualifications you'd received from your A levels. But there's a comment in here which I think is really interesting when it comes to apprenticeships. Someone is saying, what if you meet all the requirements, but you needed to retake a GCSE in June? Are you open as employers? It sounds like you're open for irrespective of your qualifications for the right pathway. Maybe Andrew, we'll go to you for that.
Yeah, correct. So depending on the pathway that you go through, I mean,
Sure.
The businesses want people, academia is one thing to be able to meet a minimum requirement, but there's exceptions and processes to go through anything or that you're concerned about on individual portals. And to echo to some of the points that we've covered on already, nobody in this industry expects you to come in knowing anything. We want the right people, and the right people is the drive, the determination, enthusiasm. Bring that creativity that you've got, and then we will be able to train you in the respective areas that you're going to go through.
That's brilliant. Claire, I think it's time for me to pass over to you. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And if Kevin, if you can put the slide 2 up, please, that would be brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for being on the call today, especially our speakers and the apprentices. Brilliant. the employers and the apprentices, and of course our attendees. I know there's numerous schools and colleges broadcasting this, as well as individual students and job seekers, and some parents too. So thank you so much for joining us. This link here will take you to all of the employer websites. So some are live vacancies, some are future opportunities. They're absolutely a brilliant wealth of information to really answer more of your questions. So by all means, take a look at that. And thank you very, very much for joining us today. Thank you.